Hello everybody, welcome back to 8-Bit Writers. My name is Gray from 8-Bit Garden, and today we're going to be talking about how to use different mediums other than prose writing to learn how to become better short story writers. So first off, hi, my name is Gray. Why should you take advice from me? I'm 24, I look 12, and I don't have any kind of schooling on this. Well, because I write really great short stories that I've been working on for a long time, and you can find them in the description if you want to read a free short story and see if you want to put any stake in my advice. So, we are going to be talking about one specific song today, and that is Father Figure by Taylor Swift from Life of a Showgirl. Now, I personally am a huge Swiftie. However, you don't have to care about Taylor's music at all to be able to get something out of my advice here today. So, let's get started. What can we learn about short stories from Taylor Swift's Father Figure? Well, first we have to know, how can a song teach us about writing at all? There is a link between art forms and art mediums. I personally believe that all art comes from one place and one place only, either emotion or lack thereof. Try to think about your favorite pieces of media. Think about what made them so impactful, what made them change your life. That is probably going to be drawn back to the emotions it made you feel and the emotional connections you made and all this other emotional shit. You can take what you love about an art piece and translate it into a different medium. How do we do this? Well, we're going to be talking about that throughout this video. So let's look at Father Figure and see what we can learn. First off, plot beats on my Blake Snyder's beat sheet shit again. Plot beats are significant events in a story that further the plot. And Blake Snyder has this beat sheet that is used for filmmaking, but Shaylin Rice or Shaylin Bishop, I'll show her name and channel stuff on the screen. She talked about Blake Snyder's beat sheet and how it can be translated into writing novels. And I love it. So I talk about it all the time. If you're sick of it, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the opening image and the setup. So let's listen to the opening of the song and see what's going on.
When I found you, you were young, wayward, lost in the cold. Pulled up to you in the Jag, turned your rags into gold. The winding road leads to the chateau.
Okay, so right there in 4 lines, we get some pretty significant setup. It's important to note that these are just 4 lines. She bangs this out. She talks about how the person that she took under her wing was when they met, what happened, and everything we need to know about what is about to unfold. Why is it important that she got these lines out so concisely? Well, the word concise, is something you're going to get very sick of hearing by the end of this. Being concise is extremely important, especially in short stories, but I'd argue in all writing. Being concise, by my definition, is to speak efficiently. You don't need to always be having 6-word sentences with no commas. But what I mean by that is just cut out anything that doesn't need to be there. Speak efficiently. Speak concisely. It can be short, but mostly it's just short end. So let's talk about the opening image and the setup. What are those beats in Blake Snyder's beat sheet? Well, the opening image is exactly what it sounds like. It is the first glimpse into the story, the very first thing you experience. So in this case, that would be when I found you, you were young, wayward, lost in the cold. So she immediately sets up this Swiftie habits. She immediately sets up this aura of you're needing help and I found you, essentially. And what is the setup in the beat sheet? The setup is everything you need to know before this plot gets set in motion. And I believe she does that here in just these 4 or 5 lines. Why do these things matter? Well, the opening image is the first thing your readers will experience, as we have established, and if they're anything like me, if they don't like it, they will put the book down, no questions asked. I am a picky ass reader, okay? And not everyone is, but like half of readers, if they don't like the first paragraph, they're going to put the book down. So you want to immediately get across what you can essentially expect from this short story or novel, because this could also be advice for novels, but we're talking about short stories. So why do they have to be concise? Well, I think we've went over this quite enough already. It is to keep things effective. People just aren't invested if you just dawdle on and on and on and on. You want to get across information that is either interesting, useful, or both. Now let's talk about the catalyst. The catalyst happens immediately. Let's listen to it. So what is the catalyst in Blake Snyder's beat sheet? The catalyst is the event in the story that the rest of the story could not have happened without. It's so confusing. The whole story hinges off of this event. If this event did not happen, the story could not have happened. So why is this important? Well, like I said, the story couldn't have happened without it. So that's pretty much what makes it important. It also is another opportunity for you to kind of tone, skin, aestheticify your story. Show people what they're getting into. So when is a good time for your catalyst to happen before the setup? When it needs to. And I know that sounds like a bullshit nothing answer, but what I mean is, if there is something about your catalyst that the readers need to know or you want them to know before they know anything about the setup, that is a good time when it is needed to put the catalyst before the setup. This would usually mean it's in out of chronological events, but not necessarily, it's your story, do whatever you want. Can you open with the catalyst? Absolutely. Yes, you can open with the catalyst. In fact, I encourage you to try it. It's very fun. Now let's talk about the promise of the premise. Let's listen to that bitch. I'll be a father figure. I drink that brown liquor. I can make deals with the devil because my dick's bigger. This love is pure profit. Just step into my office. I dry your tears with my sleeve. Leave it with me. I protect the family. Leave it with me. So the chorus in this case is the promise of the premise. Now, what is the promise of the premise in Blake Snyder's beat sheet? Well, the promise of the premise is exactly what it sounds like. I've heard it explained as if the story is like a bank heist thing, then the promise of the premise is the heist. If you are like if the back of the book is like all witchcraft and like a hag took their kid or something, the promise of the premise would be trying to get the kid back from the hag, that kind of thing. The usual. There's some depth here. She says, this love is pure profit, so it's clearly not the healthiest relationship from the beginning, which I think kind of sets up what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, it just adds depth, which is more of a to me, it's like something I can think on. So nevertheless, in this song, which, who's to say, in this song, Taylor still cares for and provides for this person. Something important during your promise of the premise is to let ideas flourish. Let yourself run on tangents sometimes. And I know I said be concise, but a first draft is there for a reason. Let yourself run on tangents sometimes. Let yourself daydream. Let yourself just dream in general. Let the characters daydream. This is your time to play around. This is your sandbox. This is your time to get a little loose. Taylor actually has a second version of the chorus in which, instead of saying, I dry your tears with my sleeve, she says, they'll know your name in the streets. That was her kind of playing around a little bit, having a little wiggle room. She hits the plot points needed in order to progress the story. The bridge, which I will play the second verse and the bridge for you, but the bridge could not have happened without the second verse. So let's listen to the second verse first.
I pay the check before it kisses the mahogany grain. Said they wanna see you rise, they don't want you to reign. I showed you all the tricks of the trade. All I ask for is your loyalty, my dear protege.
So you can kind of see how it sets up this and foreshadows this betrayal that comes forward later. You really want your story to be like a house of cards, you take one off and the whole thing comes down. You want each story, each beat to be hinged off the last beat. Consequences could not have happened without, etc. A good story is a chain of events that is caused by the thing before it. Hello, Gray from the future. I forgot to play the verses, so I forgot to play the bridge, so I'm inserting this here. So sorry. Let's go.
I saw a change in you, my dear boy. They don't make loyalty like they used to. Your thoughtless ambition sparked the ignition on foolish decisions, which led to misguided visions, led to fulfill your dreams. You had to get rid of me. I protect the family. I was your father figure. We drank that brown liquor. You made a deal with this devil. Turns out my dick's bigger. You wanna fight, you found it. I got the place surrounded. You'll be sleeping with the fishes before you know you're drowning. Whose portrait's on the mantle? Who covered up your scandals? Mistake my kindness for weakness and find your card canceled. I was your father figure. You pulled the wrong trigger. This empire belongs to me. Leave it on me. I protect the family.
Continue, Gray from the past. On being concise. Yes, I know this is probably getting a bit old. Why is being concise so goddamn important? Well, first of all, it's called a short story for a reason, so there's that. But your second reason is that being concise keeps things punchy, which is important because that is your impact. That is what you leave your readers with. That's what they think about when they think about your story years from now, if they do at all, which, if you follow these tips, they probably should. Being concise keeps people's attentions. Our attention spans are not very long these days, and unfortunately, it is important to be interesting. I know that sucks, because you just want to kind of do whatever you want. And if you're a hobbyist, if you're watching this and you're a hobbyist, please plug your ears for a moment. But you have to do like 99.9% what you want, and then the 1% or the 0.1% or whatever is like kind of your little leeway, You want to keep people's attentions, and you can't do that if it's not interesting. And it's not interesting if it's not punchy, and it's not punchy if it's not concise. You see how this is all fitting together. Being concise forces you to put what only truly matters on the page, and this can include your main character's outfit. This at least shouldn't stop you from describing your main character's outfit if you want to, or something frivolous like that. You're allowed little things. Have a little, you get it. Emotions. It's okay to be mad and also tough. Emotions are very powerful in art, and that makes them hard to replicate. I never played the music. So let's go back to that bridge, which I totally showed you when I was supposed to. So it's obvious that she is being very tough here, very strong and graceful. But behind all that, you can tell pretty clearly that she's very angry. And this teaches us about subtext. This is where it gets abstract, but consider this. A drum can be a pounding heart, a gunshot, a flashback. Hi-hats can be butterflies fluttering in the tummy, or the fear of a killer on their way. A plucked ukulele can be lonely and sad, or romantic and cute. Now, close your eyes and listen to the bridge again. I encourage you to go back and listen to the whole song when this video is finished. Close your eyes and really think about what it makes you feel. Not just her vocals, not just her lyrics, the drums, the synths, the guitars, the pianos, the ukuleles, whatever it is you decide to listen to, because it doesn't have to be this song either. In fact, I encourage you to also try to do it with other songs that you like in pieces of media like TV shows and video games and comics. Use your creative brain to translate. What in writing replicates what they're doing in music? What word choice and syntax brings you to a similar feeling to what you're going for, or in this case, the bridge of father figure? Getting emotions right is vital in writing. It is what gives that punch. It is what people come to your story for at the end of the day. If you have nothing else, you need to have good emotion. Powerful emotions make powerful stories, and apathy is not in. Emotions are important, and they should be allowed to flourish, and they should be allowed to be expressed, and that starts with art. Thank you for watching. If you would like more writing tips, feel free to follow me here. I also have some things on the screen of some other things that I do, and a picture of my cat Molly Mock. You're welcome. Now, I am a huge Swiftie. However, you do not need to care about Taylor at all to, I personally am a huge Swiftie. My nose is itching. Now, I personally am a huge Swiftie. However, you don't have to care about Taylor's music at all for you to get, Plot beats are significant events in a story that further the plot. Whew, that was hard to get out. So, the catalyst is... Okay, we're going back to when talking about explaining what the catalyst is. We're starting from the top.